Because this story is mine.
So I'm very excited about this new series, and one of the things I want to talk about, because I'm mostly fascinated with this, is the new Fury Dragon that we're seeing in the teaser of How to Train Your Dragon's new Dragons, the Nine Realms, the new animated series. I did point this out very shortly in the other video I made, but I want to go back and take a closer look at some of the differences between this dragon and the Furies that we know and love in the main How to Train Your Dragon franchise. But before we do that, I thought it would be interesting to give some context into what this animated series is going to be about, so we can kind of understand and grasp what's going on here. So this story apparently is going to be set 1300 years after the events of How to Train Your Dragon. So this is 1300 years later. As you can see, everything looks a bit more futuristic in the architecture. You can see those weird World of Warcraft looking windmills down there, or wind turbines rather, and we can tell that they're using that for energy. I don't know what those little drum things are. Possibly another way of, I guess, generating energy? This might be Burke way later, and notice they're all on a cliff. So I think this is still generally Burke, but from what I'm getting in reading some other articles is that the dragons, their little hidden world, was in the center of the earth. So as this article says, the synopsis reads, set 1300 years after the events of How to Train Your Dragon, which I'm guessing they're just meaning the first movie. Some people are saying, oh, it's the third movie. Some people are saying, no, it's the first movie. I don't know. We just know that roughly around after the time of Hidden World or the first movie, some 1,000 years have passed. Dragons are now just a legend to the modern world, like they are now. When a geological anomaly opens up an immense miles-deep fissure in the Earth's surface, scientists from all over the world gather at a new research facility to study the mysterious phenomenon. Soon, a group of misfit kids brought to the site by their parents uncover the truth about dragons and where they've been hiding, a secret they must keep to themselves to protect what they discovered. Do you want to bet that those kids are frickin' Hiccup's, like, descendants and Astra's descendants? You want to bet that those kids, if they go back to their genealogy, they're gonna find some frickin' book, they're gonna find Hiccup's book that he did on the dragons, and the kid's gonna realize, wow, this man rode a dragon and he's my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather? Like, that's freaking sick, man. I can imagine that's the way they're gonna go with it. And that way, the legend of Hiccup and Toothless live on. Not only that, but you know how they like connecting things in the How to Train Your Dragon franchise? I have a feeling that this kid is going to meet up with this descendant of Toothless. This descendant is probably Toothless's son or grandson or great-grandson, depending on how long the Light Furies and Night Furies live. I think somehow the way these things work, they'll uncover the truth together.
The next day.
Sorry, I had to record this in two separate sections because I was like falling asleep and I don't remember what happened after I left my computer. Anyways, knowing how this series works, I think they will somehow uncover the truth of their past together. So what I really wanted to look at though is 1300 years later, how the dragons actually look. The only thing that we have to go off of is what we see in the teaser and how the dragon looks. I mean, as you can see here, this is clearly a Fury dragon, but it looks kind of different than what we know Furies to look like. And there are very staunch anatomical differences. First of all, let's look at the profile of the creature. Clearly, the profile is more pronounced. The creature's profile now looks concave versus the convex profile that we see on Toothless. But a better idea of what I'm talking about, notice that Toothless's eyes are right here and his face curves more so inward. It's more so a straighter line. Now there is a little dip right here where his nose protrudes, but for the most part, it's going like an even slope. Now for the Light Fury, you have the same thing, but you can see it's a little bit more pronounced on her. Maybe that's because she's smoother, she has less rough edges, so it's easier to see. But for the most part, both the Night and Light Fury have a more convex head shape rather than a concave. You'll also notice this difference between the Clydesdale horse, whose head looks like it's pregnant, and the Arabian's head, who looks like someone stepped on the end of its nose. Although that one looks very fucked up. I don't know what happened to its freaking head, dude. Over time, these horses are bred to look like seahorses or someone's favorite running footwear. Since the dragons have been hiding for all this time, I don't think that this was selective breeding or artificial breeding by humans. You know how humans make some dogs look like freaking elephants or pencil sharpeners? Yes, this is a real dog. This is not Photoshop. This is a dog called a Borzoi. I know that they were breeding these sight hounds for speed, but goddamn, man. Goddamn. Can you imagine this dog? You know this dog is coming because its nose appears around the corner like 10 seconds before the rest of its head does. Like, normal dog? Panorama. Fortunately for the dragons, in Dragons in Nine Realms, there is nobody messing with their breeding. So the anatomical differences, we see the Fury's tail, how it looks more like a shark fin on a kite, and I think that's more aerodynamic. I don't know why they have paw pads like cats and dogs do. That's freaking odd. Maybe to make them look more cute or something, so their foot bottom doesn't look like just a straight blanket canvas. Maybe that's disconcerting to people or something. I don't know why it would be, because most reptiles, you know, that's how they look, and birds as well. And I'm guessing that the dragons have more in common with reptiles and birds than they do with mammals, unless there's something that the franchise isn't telling us. I know that Toothless's design is heavily based on cats, but you know, still. Personally, paw pads are a bit much for me. This isn't Paw Patrol. Also, you'll notice the body of this creature, the chest area that I was making fun of earlier, it is bowed out. And I know that flying creatures, you'll see dragons of Game of Thrones, they're also built like that, and that's more anatomically correct. For them to keep themselves in the air and to work their wings, their chest muscles have to be very strong. You'll notice that birds also have the same thing going on. Birds have very big chest muscles. The largest muscles in the bird are the pectorals, or the pectoralis major, which control the wings and make up for 15 to 25% of a flighted bird's body weight. These muscles are responsible for the bird being able to stroke its wings in flight or flap its wings. I want you to do an experiment. Stand up and make a T-pose with your body. Now lean forward, but instead keep your hands out to the side like a T-pose. Then start flapping your arms, keeping them straight. Don't curve them, just start flapping them up and down. As you're in this position with your arms out straight to the side on each side, pull back your arms as far as they'll go, like you're trying to give yourself a lift. And after a while, you'll start to feel that at least this muscle starts getting a very good workout, the pectoralis minor. Yours are very small because you don't fly. You're standing upright, so there's no reason for it to be frickin' beasts. But for flying creatures like wyverns, it makes a lot of sense for their chests to be very strong. Now, in Game of Thrones, it makes a lot of sense because as you can see, the wyverns or dragons that have only 4 limbs, which means 2 legs and 2 wings, rather than the European dragons, which is the body shape of Toothless, where he has 6 limbs, 4 feet, and 2 wings, it makes sense that their chest would be big because these muscles are directly connected to the wings. I know this is like an animation. I don't think this would be anatomically correct in order to support the dragon for flight, unless you're gonna count buoyancy in or something, but the wings aren't even connected near the back. You can see there's a little gap right in the middle right here where this can actually be connected so the dragon has more surface area, so there's not a lot of stress right here to support its body weight. You can say, well, birds aren't shaped like that. Birds don't have to worry about that because they don't have 4 big legs and a huge mass and a huge tail to carry behind them. Now, yes, while the tail does make up for that, it would have to be significantly bigger to balance the dragon properly, even with the base of the tail fins doing their job. There are a lot of depictions of dragons, but usually the European dragons usually have this 4-legged lizard with these wings that scientifically could not support them. Then you have pictures like this one, where you can see that the membrane covers all the way down near the base of the tail to cover all this area and to change the center of gravity. That way, when the dragon lifts off, its back end isn't putting it off balance. It is actually lifting its entire midsection. I mean, you could try it right now. Try putting 2 flappy things on the end of your hands and flap as hard as you can. Or, well, don't do this, but if you had to take an experiment where you dove off the side of a building, with these little flappy things in your hand trying to fly. No matter how hard you flap, you would still splatter at the bottom. Versus what human gliders do. For humans to gain flight or even just to glide and stay in the air, this membrane has to cover all of their body. If it only covered a small section, let's just say it didn't cover the legs or the little flappy things only came up here, the legs would put them off balance, and in fact, the humans would start tumbling around as they were trying to gain flight or just catch the wind. There's too much weight on the back, too much for a little bit of membranes to support here. So that's why the gliders have membranes that go all the way to the feet and cover around so that all of their body can catch the air. A dragon would essentially have to make itself into a parachute to gain flight. We see the very same thing with the anatomy of bats, actual flyers in our mammalian group. This bat has a tail and it has membranes so that all of its body catches the air, and so that the center of gravity stays right in the middle so that when it lifts off, its back end or front end isn't spinning out of control. For the fruit bat, which looks more closer to human, it doesn't really have a tail, but you'll see that the wing membrane goes all the way to near the tips of the feet. This is a significantly bigger animal. And with bats that are human, oh no. No, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is it doesn't really make that much sense, you know, for the muscles, but I get it. I get it. It's just interesting because you look at Toothless and he clearly doesn't have that going on, but he does have more of the membranes covering the back of his body. Look at this thing's wings. Look at Toothless's wings. They cover more of his body. As a matter of fact, if you look closer, you can see that Toothless's back legs are completely covered and supported by the membrane. The membrane of his wings are connected just above his legs. So the center of gravity makes more sense for Toothless to take flight and to keep flight. This thing, by logic, should not be able to fly or fly so seamlessly. And it clearly doesn't look like it's handicapped. But looking at the other Night Fury and Light Furies, there's barely anything. Look at the back of its wings. This dragon should not be able to fly. So I don't know why they threw out the anatomically correct dragons from the How to Train Your Dragon franchise and made one that had skinnier, more unbelievable wings. There are a lot of dragon aficionados in here. So that was weird to me. But again, it is just a cartoon animation, so it's fine. Except that if they're going to do something in the franchise, I think it would be better if they have some sense of consistency with the way they design their creatures. Just me though. Another thing we look at, and by the way, sorry, there's a correction. I mean, I don't know how people know this. I asked for some kind of proof or evidence that this is the case, but a lot of people in the comments of the last video were saying that the dragons with blue eyes are female and the dragons with green eyes are male. So I guess they're doing the Disney thing where the males have different color eyes. It was always a thing with Disney characters that the males would have brown or red eyes and the females would have blue eyes. I guess so they could look softer or something. And this dragon has blue eyes. As you can see with the babies, which apparently have names, by the way, and I didn't know what their names were. This is Dart, Pouncer, and Rough Runner. I think I got them correctly. And the one I was calling Snow-Nose, called Dart, is actually a female because as you can see, she has blue eyes and the others have green eyes. Probably because the Light Fury had blue eyes and Toothless had green eyes, they decided it's an easy way for people to tell what gender they are. Maybe in Furies, that's a situation where the males only have one color eyes and the females only have one color. This dragon clearly has blue eyes, so if that's the case, then she's probably female. But I still stand by my statement that she's a descendant of Toothless. Over 1,000 years, Furies and other dragons wouldn't just look different phenotypically, but probably other traits that would help them survive in the hidden world or with other dragons. There would be new species, and that would be the exciting thing about this series, in my opinion. Not just the return of one of Toothless' descendants, but also seeing what new dragons are out there. For crying out loud, I haven't even finished the series on Netflix, so I'm missing a whole lot. And I would like to get back into playing Dragon's Rise of Berk because, you know, I had to stop because I was sinking way too much money into that game. But when they started adding the battling, that was like, yes, that was the addiction moment for me and I had to stop. Anyways, I thought it was interesting to just point out the differences. And I know I was nitpicking at some of the stuff that's not reality, this is an animated show, but watching Toothless fly was one of the highlights for me of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. It was believable because, you know, he looked like a real dragon. You could see the force of the air pressing against his wings, giving him lift. And his anatomy made so much sense. Look at the membranes, like everything is balanced as it should be on a freaking dragon. It's like taking a sexy Ferrari or a Murcielago and then turning it into a Volkswagen.
Das Auto.
Alright, I'm being so mean. It's true though. Aside from that, I am excited to see it. I'm excited to see more dragons. Let's see where their adventure takes them. This is going to be set in the future, so yeah, I don't know. It's either going to be a hit or miss. Hopefully it'll be good and on par with Camp Cretaceous. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.